Well, okay, we have a lot to talk about here, and I'm back here with Mike and Marie. Marie, I want to start with you. Let's begin with the defense. And this is sort of like I said, what we previewed would happen, put the focus on Chad Cobb. How effective was that opening statement on the part of the defense? Marie, I don't know if we have you there. Okay, so let me go to Mike. Mike, let me turn to you with that same question.
I thought this is what's great about Law and Crime Network. Any young lawyer or any new trial lawyer should have watched both these opening statements. The prosecutor did an excellent job, and the defense attorney did an excellent job. They both were in keeping with what their duties are during this case. I thought the prosecutor was great at the way she laid things out, and the defense attorney reminded about all the facts need to be proven and what to look out for. It was a very good preview. They weren't too long-winded. The only thing, though, I do think is that the prosecution, and it was funny that the defense attorney brought this up, should be wearing a mask, but should not be wearing a mask with a prosecutor's logo on it. Attorneys in the case should be making no statements on to any side they're on or things of that nature. And it was funny because the defense brought out that just because someone has a badge or has training, you still have to test the facts. That would play into his objection
Yeah.
over wearing a prosecutor wearing that kind of mask that shows I'm on the team of the government.
That's an interesting point. We talk about the prosecution. They did something that, I mean, they revealed something that I hadn't heard before, this recording of the defendant allegedly admitting to what she did. That was a huge bombshell, and I can't wait to hear that. What did you make of that part?
I thought it was. I didn't know anything about that. I thought they only had the child was going to come back and testify that she heard the conversation. I still think it's interesting. I don't think it's devastating, though, to the defense in this matter. I mean, the bottom line is someone asked me to help. Oh, and by the way, that person who asked me to help was going to kill another person who he didn't get along with. What do you think my choices were as a defendant in that situation? That's what I think has to be the continual theme in any cross-examination in this case.
The actual conversation, according to the prosecution, was apparently Erica Stefanko said, "I carried out my part. I did what Chad told me to do. Wasn't like he was forcing me to do it. Wasn't like he had a gun to my head. Chad came up with how to do it. He executed." I mean, those are some really, if they can prove that, if that recording can actually come out, and that is what she said, that's a huge bombshell. The question, of course, though, Mike, is why would Stefanko help Cobb? Why? Why? Because he was having difficulty with his former girlfriend over the custody of this minor daughter. Is that enough here?
Well, the funny thing is I think the defense has to say that, yeah, he was doing all this and I helped him. I didn't help him because of the problems he was having. I learned through my relationship he was capable of murder. And once his ex-wife didn't agree with him, what do you think my choices were if I didn't go along with this or pretend I was on his side? I didn't have much choice here. That's what I think the defense should be.
So let's play a little bit of the prosecution, their opening statement from earlier, in case you missed it.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are here today to hold this defendant, Erica Stefanko, accountable for what she did on June 20th to June 21st, 2012. We are here to hold her responsible for the actions she chose to take that day. Now, in the words of Shakespeare, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. And what that means is, whether you hold Erica Stefanko accountable as the principal actor or as an accomplice, all roads lead to the same place. Once you see the evidence and the testimony, all roads lead to Erica Stefanko being found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of aggravated murder, kidnapping, and aggravated robbery.
Mike, you had mentioned something to me earlier in the program. You hope that they have a lot more than this apparent phone call that she made. to Domino's to have Biggs deliver to this abandoned location in order to lure her alone, isolated, in order to be killed by Cobb. But it seems that's all they need. That call, and I mean, I'm talking about, of course, if you can prove that with her being recorded and other evidence that show that she made the call, that call is enough to hold her accountable for the murder of this woman.
Well, technically under the law, I mean, the prosecutor used at the very end, and I was waiting because I've never heard a prosecutor in a conspiracy case not use the phrase "in for a penny, in for a pound." The question is, when the jury sees the context of that phone call, and we don't know when it was made, how it was made, why it was made, but I think we had some sort of preview to pay attention to the fact that it was after he was incarcerated that she decided, Stefanko, the defendant, to divorce him.
Right.
And it was after that divorce that then he came forward.
And I'll tell you what, I want to take a break because I want to spend some time talking about more what we can preview in this case. So let's hit a quick one, and then we'll be right back right after this.